Hey everybody, welcome back. Happy summer. I'm Russell Simon.
I'm Mark Donatelli.
Another episode of Simon Says on the Mark. It is a big one. Mark, we are now seniors. We're 2 years into Simon Says. And this fantastic, authentic black Jeremy Lin jersey is probably the closest I will ever get to Harvard University.
It is a beautiful jersey.
Yours is too. He's got the new Nike.
The new
I don't
Nike.
know if you've noticed,
new Nike,
everyone.
Much
Very
nicer.
good deal. Beautiful Steve Johnson, same mediocre receiver.
Right, Nike got rid of the mesh kind of thing,
yes.
which really did not work well with the screen print.
I think it looks very nice.
Yeah, I actually saw some Jets jerseys with the new Nike.
Yes,
nice
well,
too.
obviously Christmas in July coming up, so if you need anything on your wish list, I don't know if people actually do that. I think that's like a myth. But
Yeah.
if you actually do it, I would know.
It's ironic.
Hanukkah in July,
Sure,
maybe. I would totally put a Nike jersey on my list. Well, anyway, we've got a great show lined up for you today, and we're going to jump right into it, Mark, and we begin with one of my favorite segments on this show. Obviously, we've got a Facebook page, Simon Says on the Mark, on Facebook, and we get a lot of international involvement, and people in the community also check it out. They can watch all our shows there, and viewers have sent us questions where it's kind of an advice column where we can give advice to some of our viewers, and we're going to jump right in. We've got one, I believe, from Michael, right?
Michael, yes. Hey guys, even though you weren't alive in 1992, very true.
Yes.
That year, I was the leader of the greatest team to ever play in sports. I'm retired, but now this new guy playing for the same team keeps disrespecting us by saying that their team could beat ours. He's nuts. Well, Michael from the golf course.
From the golf course, of course, and obviously you could spend a lot of time at the golf course when you are the greatest basketball player ever, and you've retired, and obviously maybe if he was not spending so much time at the golf course, he would be managing the Charlotte Bobcats to even a mediocre record. But that is a discussion for another day. This discussion is about the Dream Team. Obviously, Kobe Bryant coming out yesterday when, obviously, Mark, the only day in the year where there is basically no sports on, and he's going to try and drum up this controversy, and obviously everyone in the media is going to run with it because they have nothing else to talk about. And Kobe did say that that this team, this present USA Olympic team, could beat the Dream Team. And let's just run by some numbers here, Michael, because, we like to have our arguments make sense, and we want to, assure Michael that he has nothing to worry about. Logistics, yeah, that's a good basketball commercial. I like that. Well, the Dream Team won by an average of 43.8 points. Chuck Daly actually called no timeouts the entire tournament. Not one.
Wow.
Think about that. Has that ever happened in a game ever? And in the whole tournament, they played 8 games. They were 8-0, and they called no timeouts. And just to give you one game, just so we can really understand and comprehend the Dream Team's dominance, they beat Angola 116-48. And that was just like a ho-hum.
To 48?
116-48.
Wow.
I just wonder, how did they get 48?
I don't know. When they brought the scrubs in, but their scrubs started on that team, right?
Yeah, well, talking about the scrubs, let's look at this lineup right now. You had Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, David Robertson, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Clyde Drexler, Karl Malone, Magic Johnson. I mentioned Stockton earlier, so this is the greatest team to ever play. I mean, Christian Laettner was the only guy who's not a star, but he did well in college, and everyone on this team, Hall of Famer, they all won NBA championships. And now you look at this current team, Michael, because we've got to answer the question. And you've got Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, Kobe Bryant, Tyson Chandler, Anthony Davis coming in because Blake Griffin got injured, perhaps on a epic tomahawk jam in practice. Kevin Durant, Rudy Gay, Eric Gordon, Blake Griffin, LeBron James, Kevin Love, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook and Deron Williams. So certainly that is good. And I mean, I'm sure if they played, it would probably be a game because you've got LeBron, you've got Kobe, you've got some great point guard talent with Westbrook and Deron Williams and Chris Paul. But obviously, unfortunately, we can't, pit them against each other. But one of the things that I think the Dream Team started, which I think is a very interesting thing to notice, because in that 1992 Barcelona Olympics, the U.S. was basically the only team that even fielded a team. There was only really one other team, that was the team that Tony Kukoc was on, who obviously went to the Chicago Bulls. You got me messed up with the Bills references. But that was a team that steamrolled everyone because no one else played basketball. But really because of the Dream Team, there was really an explosion of international talent. And you look at the NBA now, Dirk Nowitzki, and some of these guys who grew up, Tony Parker, Ginobili, all of them, really fell in love with basketball during the Olympics when they watched the Dream Team. And this is a team fast forwarding to 2012 in the London Games. This is a team that it's not going to be a cakewalk for them to win the gold. Obviously, they're going to be expected to win the gold medal, but come on, you're going to be playing Germany, which is a very good team, China, which contended, Brazil with Nene. So there are teams now that can really contend, and even though I think, obviously this team is not as good as the Dream Team. The Dream Team was the best team ever. It goes to show their importance, even more importantly, because they spawned basketball as a global game.
Well, just from the statement itself, a 20-year interval might not seem like that much time in relative terms, but in sports, 20 years,
It's
games
huge.
can change,
Oh, yeah.
significantly in 20 years. So to come out and say that is kind of a stretch. And then, to say it before the Olympics even begin, now there's just that extra little, sense of tension going on.
I'm sure.
Say they don't,
If
say
they
they
don't
end up
win
beating
gold,
Germany, for instance.
Yeah.
They beat Germany, but, it's only by 15 points and it's a close game or something like
Which
that.
it certainly could
right.
be.
It's gonna, people are going to come back and say, oh, the 92 team would have beat them by much more. And then I think it just brings extra attention. Look, they're gonna
win. They're gonna win.
95% chance they're winning
Come
this
on.
gold medal.
Yeah.
But I think it's just unneeded attention to a team that's already going to be drawing a lot.
Certainly. Well, speaking of the Olympics and the world in general, this next question comes from one of our viewers in the Dominican Republic. It's written in Spanish, and I was able to scrape a B this year, so Mark, I think I will read it. And then this is actually becoming a recurring trend. If you remember,
Spanish,
someone
correct.
named Pau emailed us or Facebooked us from Barcelona.
right.
Well, now we've got a new one from the Dominican Republic. Hola, chicos. Esta semana fui con mi hijo, I don't know if I said that right, a Kansas City para un pequeño descanso de la rutina diaria de trabajo. La gente allí era muy grosera con mi hijo y yo estaba muy frustrado. ¿Te sorprende que esto haya sucedido? Gracias. That's Jose Cano from Santo Domingo, and I obviously had no contact with the viewers. Sorry, it's hard to read Spanish. What can I say? And in English, it's hi guys. This week I went with my son to Kansas City for a little break from the daily grind of work. The people there were really rude to my son, and I was very frustrated. Are you surprised that this happened? And that is from Jose Cano, watching from the Dominican.
I'm sorry, Jose. You got to pay the home team some respect.
Yeah.
And when things have gone the way they have with the Royals and the last 20, 30 years since George Brett was around, they finally get their time to shine. They have the All-Star game. They have the Home Run Derby, and you don't even put Billy Butler in the lineup for the Home Run Derby. Did he deserve to be in it? No. Is he a guy that people say, oh, Billy Butler's up, I gotta watch?
Well, come on, do
no,
something for
but
the home team fans.
Right.
Let
You had to pay a little bit of respect to the team. They have some great fans for a team
certainly.
that hasn't been in the playoffs since or hasn't won a playoff series I think since 1985.
Yeah. It's been a while.
It's been a rough existence to be a Royals fan, and then here you get the All-Star game. You can't even watch one of your hometown guys playing the main event that everybody likes to watch. The All-Star game. I bet it gets significantly less views than the Home Run Derby. I don't have any stats to back that up.
In terms of viewership.
In terms of viewership, you want to see that. You want to see something to throw out to the hometown fans, and then you just totally ignored them.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly it's a quandary for Robinson Cano, who I'm just guessing here. I had a carrier pigeon come and follow Jose around in the Dominican, and he came back and reported to me that Robinson Cano is his son. And certainly I think it's a little tasteless. I mean, it's all in good fun. It's not like he was going out there to offend the Royal fans, because you could tell during the Home Run Derby he was a little surprised at the incredible
Maybe a little
reaction
nervous
they
for not
gave
being
him,
able to hit
and he didn't even hit a
any
home run.
runs,
Yeah.
right.
And, should he have done it? Yes. Is it a huge deal that people will remember forever and ever as this huge affront to Billy Butler and the Kansas City Royals organization? No. I mean, they've got this, rep, it being in the Midwest, of that Midwestern hospitality, and everyone's nice, and, we could see John Kruk, someone had made him some barbecue that he was eating on set during the Home Run Derby.
Set.
But, we should do that, by the way. We
Sure.
should get, like,
If anyone
or
wants
something
to
come in.
donate.
If anyone wants to come in and give us ribs, I will eat them during the broadcast. Anyway, I think it's not really that big a deal. Certainly, I expect this reaction, and I'm sure they were just having fun.
Right.
There was no malice intended, but still, he probably should have picked Billy Butler.
Right. The weekend's all about the fans. It's all about
They
just
were
having
all
fun.
about the fans paying $400 to go to the Home Run Derby.
Right, but the people want to see the hometown guy.
Yeah.
So moving on. This is from Robert. Hey guys, I made a small video with my girlfriend trying to help her get a role in a new movie. Now I'm being mocked. all over the internet. People wouldn't stop laughing at me when I went to get some clam chowder for breakfast this morning.
It's a quandary people have in New England.
Right.
They need to eat it for breakfast,
lunch,
and
and
mid-morning snack.
Lunch and dinner, correct. I'm 71 now. She's only 32. Ooh. But, true love is blind, right, guys? And that is from Robert in Foxborough.
Well, Robert, I witnessed this video. And as a Jets fan who has seen many of Rex Ryan's fantastic cinematic feats, he appeared in That's My Boy. I didn't even know I was going to do that. Well played there,
right? Just continue.
That was awesome. Anyway, he was in That's My Boy from Adam Sandler, which was just a horrible, horrible movie. Adam Sandler's just, his career has gone in with tailspin. Right. I mean, economically, I'm sure he's doing fine.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
Geez. But, yeah, Rex Ryan was horrible in that. And then, of course, we have the videos of
with the feet.
With the feet.
Let's just go with that.
The whole string of things. It's really remarkable, and I'm pretty sure that this video from Robert Kraft could be as awkward as the Rex Ryan foot fetish videos, if we're gonna call them that. Let's just look at this. He appeared in the video alongside Ricky Lane, which is his new best buddy, I guess. No one really knows if they're dating. Whatever. He's 71. She is 32, so that's daughter age, or
right.
granddaughter.
Maybe if you have maybe,
yeah. So I watched this video, and just a quick summary. It's a movie starring Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, I believe, from Wedding Crashers fame, obviously. But basically, Robert Kraft is trying to pick her, Ricky Lane, who's this very obscure wannabe actress, up at a bar, and he's talking to another guy, and they start talking, they go at it back and forth, and at the end he just unleashes a bunch of curses and punches the guy in the face. It was awesome. I was dying. I'm sure it's incredibly embarrassing for Robert, and to answer your question, Robert, people should laugh at you because that's horrifically embarrassing, and you're an NFL owner, so give me a break. I mean, not only are you with the 32-year-old woman, not only is this just comically bad from an acting standpoint, not like I know much, but it just looked terrible. And then on top of that, you have kind of the more serious layer, which is that your wife of decades died last year, and there was the whole thing with the Patriots had the patch. They wore it in the Super Bowl where it was MHK and there was a heart over the H, and they were really mourning her. And we had Tom Brady and a lot of players going out and publicly saying that it was like they lost a member of their family, and it was very tragic. So then you go out and a year later, even less, are doing this, and what's he want to do with his private life? Part of me says that's up to him. But when you're an NFL owner, you hold yourself up to a certain standard, and he's 71 years old, so it's got to be embarrassing, and it's a little pathetic.
I really don't know what to say. This
when
is
you
the time
found
of the year
out about the video, though,
I didn't know what to
reaction?
say.
Did you laugh? I mean, you had to have laughed.
Yeah, sure, I definitely laughed, but it's a strange thing when this was the guy no less than a year ago during the lockout. He was the man who pushed this through, got the deal done. He was kind of like the hero of the league at that point. And then his wife passed away.
He was Iron Man. And speaking of Iron Man, Ricky Lane starred as flight attendant in Iron Man. A huge part where she starred alongside Robert Downey Jr. You can continue now.
I don't think I can. I'm really speechless as to what to say, really, because it's just the strangest thing, to just come out and do after a year after your wife dies. Yeah. And you've been in the public spotlight more than ever. Yeah. Even when he bought the Patriots, they were really one of the lesser teams in the league.
They were terrible.
He's brought them to prominence,
to say the least.
Some would consider him maybe the best owner in the NFL for getting the lockout through, and then he comes with this. I'm speechless.
Well, we've got another question. Hey guys, I love the show. I got paid $98 million to leave Newark. Probably the first time that's ever happened. And I went up to a very safe and tranquil Minnesota. Sure, some people were counting on me in New Jersey, but I definitely made the right call, right? And that is from Zach in Minneapolis. He's actually searching for apartments now, and he wanted our advice.
I think I can guess which Zach we're talking about here. And for the Devils fans who are watching, some of my friends. I got to be honest.
I forgot to bring my tissues.
He went home.
I didn't bring my tissues.
Right. I think he made the right decision. And that's what brings me to this little thing I've had going, where he's almost like the anti-LeBron, if you think about it.
There we go.
LeBron took the money. He left home. Takes the exact. He would have maybe gotten even more money in Cleveland had he stayed home. Instead, but he goes to Miami. Where he could win immediately. And really is disgraced in the public eye.
Hated.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what Parise did, which is what I really respect. A lot of people had him marked to go to Detroit or to go to Chicago or to go to Pittsburgh. These teams that can win right now within the next 2 years. He could have stayed in New Jersey
where they had a lot of
won
success.
too. They went to the Stanley Cup Finals, but instead he said, "You know what? I'm going to go to my hometown team. I'm going to try to win there. I'm going to take." I wouldn't say less money, still getting paid $98 million, but I'm going to go home and I'm going to win it for my hometown team. Whether this pays out in the right way, whether the Wild become a prominent team, who knows? But I respect his decision. I would have respected it too if he stayed in New Jersey, but I like the fact he went back to Minnesota.
Yes, well, from a satirical standpoint here, it's been a very rough couple of months for Newark. Besides the crime rate, the Nets left. The Devils lost in the Stanley Cup Finals, even though they had a miracle run. They still lost.
It's still getting
lost.
there.
Just roll with me here. Zach Parise leaves, and all they're left with is really the Devils, who certainly have taken a hit now because Parise left. And anytime you can leave Newark, I'm sure it's a pretty good call.
Missed out on the Whitney Houston passing.
Oh yes, and Whitney Houston died too. So a very rough stretch for Newark. They're right over there.
Next door.
Yeah, I have my license now, so I could go drive there. We could check it out, see how they're
how
coping.
dismal it is now.
Yeah. Well, I think Parise had to make the right call here. Going home, that you can't really argue with that.
Yeah.
The money was very similar, and it's not like he pulled a LeBron and left
He's
the
the
team in
anti-LeBron.
chaos.
Yeah.
Exactly. Good point. And he went home, and you can't really fault the guy for that, even though Newark and New Jersey and the Devils are kind of left in the lurch now.
Right, and I think, going to Minnesota's the hockey capital of this country, if you think about it. Hockey is huge
Come on,
there.
Detroit.
Detroit's hockey town. They've crowned themselves hockey town.
Let's hear it.
But, in terms of the state, hockey is almost as big as it is in Canada as it is in Minnesota. Yeah. And he's going home, and he wants to win there, and I respect that.
I do too, and that is all the time we have for this segment. We're going to be coming back talking NBA, and we're just going to deride the All-Star Game some more. That's a good SAT word, deride. I think you're done
for
with
our
that
younger viewers.
Yes, younger viewers.
Not for
junior years.
our peers.
I'm sure we've got some people waiting in the wings to take over next year. But that is an announcement for another show, and we're going to roll right along. After this, you are watching Simon Says on the Mark.
Television is a powerful and influential medium that allows different groups the opportunity to produce programming that directly affects their own communities. Public, educational, and government access channels ensure that all people, regardless of race, age, gender, disability, religion, or economic status, have access to local government information and the use of a public communication forum. Make sure everyone has a voice. Support your local PEG channels.
Welcome back to Simon Says on the Mark. Miami may have beaten the Thunder in 5 games to win the NBA Finals, but the action is only heating up, and of course I'm talking about the NBA free agency, and it has been a feeding frenzy for some teams, and some teams have remained put, and one player in particular has remained put, and that has been Dwight Howard. But we've had a lot of moves. Just a very brief overview. Steve Nash is now a Laker, Joe Johnson is now a Net, and Dwight Howard is still an Orlando Magic player. So, Mark, what do you think about the histrionics that have resulted with Howard? Let's just start with there.
With Howard specifically. Well, it's been tumultuous, to say the least.
Oh, my God.
Over the past few years, it's like he's going to the Nets. No, he's not going to the Nets.
He's going to the Nets.
He's staying in Orlando. Actually, he's not staying in Orlando. Now he's staying in Orlando. It's getting a little too much for me. I really just wish they just get him out of there by now. I think it's really... For the Magic as a franchise, it's got to be ringing through the locker room. This whole
who would want to play
chaotic,
with him after this?
And this it's been chaotic, I'm sure. In the last couple of years. I don't know if he publicly wants out of Orlando.
I don't think he's ever even asked. And he did sign a 1-year extension.
He hasn't made it seem as though I want out of Orlando.
Well, it's.
Right.
He's made it seem, but he hasn't said it publicly.
From Howard's standpoint, the fact that they keep shopping him, then not shopping him, then shopping him again, and then it's kind of almost like the same thing that's been going on with Bobby Ryan for the Anaheim Ducks in the NHL. Every time there's something going wrong with the Ducks, it's like, oh, we'll trade Bobby Ryan. And then he came out a few weeks ago saying, I want out of here because you guys keep throwing me out there as the trade bait.
Yeah.
So I think that maybe is what Dwight Howard's feeling. I'm sure he knows how good of a player he is. And he knows that, whether he's in Orlando or whether he's in, Brooklyn, but I know that's not going to happen now.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he knows how good a player he is, and I'm sure he knows the front office isn't using him as bait, per se.
Yeah, well, if LeBron James and The Decision was a soap opera, which is kind of ironic because it was actually on TV, Dwight Howard is a soap opera that's extended into, like, season 3. I mean, think about this. Last year, they fired Stan Van Gundy, they fired the GM, and all of this came after the owner was outed as having had dialed him and left a drunk phone message on his phone saying, "I love you, we need you, please stay," when he's like drunk out of his mind. That awkward moment. Yes, that awkward moment when you're Dwight Howard, you get a call from your drunk owner. Anyway, this thing has just spiraled so far out of control, and part of me certainly wants to blame the old management and the ownership for the Magic because, they know what he wants and they're just dragging this thing out and it's becoming a huge distraction. And then they fired Stan Van Gundy for basically no reason other than Dwight Howard wanted him to leave. And then Dwight Howard is still going to leave, so it seems pointless to me. But now Rob Hennigan is the new GM. Richard Devos was the owner who had that drunk phone call with Howard. And at this point, there needs to be a resolution. And the Brooklyn Nets came out yesterday and said that they're not going to go after Howard. They inked Brook Lopez to a long-term deal now. And there needs to be a resolution because I can't possibly imagine that Dwight Howard is going to come back to the Magic after all of this has happened. That seems like it would be an impossible situation from everyone's standpoint. So that leaves two suitors. That leaves the Los Angeles Lakers with Andrew Bynum,
which would be now Steve
Nash. And Steve Nash, of course, and Kobe.
Right.
But they're only going to trade Bynum for him. Bynum and a bunch of
as
the trade bait.
I thought you were just saying like as a team.
Yes.
All right.
And the dark horse here, of course, is the Houston Rockets, who have freed up a bunch of cap space, a bunch of draft picks, and now Dwight Howard has publicly said that he doesn't want to go to Houston, but last year, he signed a one-year contract extension with Orlando, which defies logic and belief at this point, because when you look at this whole ridiculous scenario of what's playing out this summer, one of the things that clearly stands out is that this could have been avoided. If Dwight Howard just doesn't sign an absurd contract extension, he's a Brooklyn Net right now for nothing. And he signs this ridiculous deal, and now he's created a situation where the Magic have to keep him, but no team is going to want to trade for him because he won't agree to an extension. The only place he would agree to an extension is with the Nets, and the Nets said, we're out. And it's really just a ridiculous situation that he himself and his management team have entirely created.
You're right. You mentioned like the third season of a soap opera.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's more like season 7 of Lost at this point.
I never watched
everything
that
is
show,
just so confusing at this point and illogical.
Yeah.
And in terms of of Orlando, as a team, they're really kind of stuck in limbo at this point.
Definitely.
It's almost how
everyone is.
Right. It's almost how Brett Favre kind of handicapped the Packers before he left Green Bay. What do you do now? Do you go out and draft a quarterback? What do you do? You don't know whether he's going to be here or not. And I think it really should be their prerogative to get him out of Orlando as quickly as possible because, at this point, he's not even going to be staying here for much longer, let alone win a championship with them. So there's no point of him staying on the roster for much longer.
But he is under contract, and it is the Magic's obligation and their responsibility as a team trying to win a championship to get the best possible offer for him. And at this point, they would have to wait until at least February, where the Nets would take 1 year of Brook Lopez's salary before they were to trade him to the Nets. And you could trade him to Houston, but you're really not going to get that much. You're going to get draft picks, which certainly gives you a lot of flexibility, but you're not going to get talent.
Rebuilding.
And so what I was thinking is that I really think that Los Angeles makes the most sense. You've got Steve Nash now, you've got Kobe Bryant, and Andrew Bynum becomes expendable. And no other team, considering now that the Nets are out, no other team will give you as enough the quality players that the Lakers are going to give you in Bynum and a bunch of draft picks, even though they traded a bunch of first-round picks to go get Steve Nash. They've still got some flexibility, and I just cannot believe that this deal has not been done yet, and it does make me think that the Lakers are not going to get a deal done, because if they could have gotten a deal done for where you trade Bynum in Orlando and then you get Dwight Howard, why wouldn't they have already made that deal?
Right. And can you believe the kind of team that LA would have, next year with Steve Nash, Dwight Howard, and Kobe, who are all superstars in their own right. Could you imagine a Lakers and Heat final?
Dream
people love seeing Durant versus Kobe in the final.
Yeah.
I'm not even a big basketball guy. You know that.
Yeah.
I would watch.
Come on.
I would watch
That would be amazing.
that Laker team versus that Heat team. That would be quite the showdown.
Well, you are a big baseball guy, and Mark, I'm hoping that you did not watch much of the All-Star game.
I watched till about the 5th inning when we preferred to watch a cheesy paranormal sci-fi show on the Sci-Fi Channel instead of that game because it just got so unappealing that it was just we couldn't bear it anymore.
I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I was watching the Celtics Thunder Summer League game from the Orlando Magic facilities. Jared Sullinger was just dominating,
Sure.
He had like a double-double, but that's embarrassing. Let's continue on. I thought the All-Star game was, more offensively ridiculous this year than in any year previous. I mean, the home run derby was
Very
mediocre
boring.
and
Very
very
boring
boring
this
at
year.
best. And you couple that with Chris Berman and the ESPN crew, which certainly did nothing to liven up the telecast. But I thought the home run derby was terrible. The game itself was just horrible. I mean, Verlander got shellacked, and then the AL just got killed, and it defies logic to think that this is such an important game. I just don't understand why this matters so much. No one cared. I mean, we saw it when Chipper Jones went in to pinch hit for his last ever All-Star game at bat. He hits a ground ball to second, and Kinsler, I believe it was, he takes a nap for like 3 seconds, then he gets up and practically hops like we would do in gym in 3rd grade. He hops over to the ball, and Jones is there at first. The players obviously do not care about the All-Star game anymore, so I do not understand why it counts for so much.
It does, and that's the thing. That's what differentiates the MLB from the
everything
other three.
else.
A few things that irked me with this game.
SAT number 2.
This you might as well just call this the SAT vocab program. Anyway, Fox did a horrible job with the game. The ESPN crew, the night before. I like Berman, honestly. I know a lot of people don't like Berman.
Like Berman.
That's for football.
How do you like Berman?
That's because of football.
You like the Raiders,
right.
The whole.
Yeah, I like how he imitates Cosell and all that. But not for baseball. ESPN didn't do a great job either. But with Fox, they just did a terrible job.
Well, Buck is listening to paint dry.
They had some American Idol guy come on and sing some song before.
Yeah.
It was like 8:15.
The pageantry.
He had the same first name as his last name. I don't even remember what his name was. They would just go to these montages with these guys doing weird, dancing with each other. What is going on? Is this a baseball game?
What is going on?
Joe Buck and the Fox theme song, the Fox Sports theme song. I felt like I should be watching the NFC Championship game, and instead I'm here watching this game that they were calling the All-Star game. Which the one thing that did surprise me though, you mentioned it was such an offensive game. Some of the pitchers, Verlander, they were throwing harder than they usually do.
100,
right?
Boom.
And then there was still this offensive showing. Typically that would have made for a pretty good game, but not really.
Yes, well, Mark, I like your analysis of broadcasting. Maybe if business doesn't pan out at Villanova, fingers crossed. We could do that. Well, anyway, that's all the time we have for this edition of Simon Says on the Mark. I'm Russell Simon.
And I'm Mark Donatelli.
You are Mark Donatelli. Was that an Anchorman thing where you raised your voice? Because if it wasn't,
I don't know. I thought that's just what we did.
Anyway, we will see you next time on Simon Says on the Mark.